Good day everyone, we are about to tackle what is cultural values and cultural heritage issues. Cultural values. The importance of cultural values is that it binds people together, which makes them strong and united. It makes people learn tolerance and understand brotherhood, which paves the path of social harmony, economic improvement, and physical well-being of the community and the others. Filipino indolence. It was recently stated that Filipinos are indolent people and it is still happening now. There are some Filipinos who haven't figured out their plans for the future and they are too invested in playing games like bingo, mahjong, tong-its, caracruz, and other gambling activities. Lingas Kogon. In simple words, these are people who are only doing well on the beginning. For example, is where you only persevere at the start of something you wanted to achieve, only to lose interest afterwards. Mañana habit. Mañana is a Spanish word that means tomorrow or later, which in simple words is about procrastination. For example of this one is how we procrastinate to do our homeworks based on deadline, or simple means finding a way to delay a work to be done. Bahala na is an expression of fatalistic attitude towards uncertainty. For example, is this bahala na attitude is whenever we think we have no choice but to just go with the flow, and this is related to quote like it is what it is. Indulging in gambling. A favorite pastime of some Filipinos such as weteng, tong-its, and sabong. In addition to this, gambling is an activity in which the person indulges in taking risks in hope of getting more back. Hiya complex. If a person feels slighted, it may be considered a feeling of hiya, even though it's only for seat. For example, bringing a gift of food to a business lunch or dinner can be viewed as a slight against the host as if they were unable to provide for their guests.
Amor propio. This is associated closely with hiya. It is a Spanish term meaning self-love or self-esteem. The fear of losing social acceptance. Once a person has attained social acceptance, he will do everything to keep that status. A person will certainly feel hurt and insulted if the criticism is directed against those qualities that he holds dear or has a value to him. Amor propio is a Spanish word which means self-love or self-respect that prevents a person from swallowing his pride. It includes sensitivity to personal insult or affront. For example, an abandoned wife will refuse to seek financial support from a husband who has abandoned her no matter how financially destitute she is on this principle. Amor propio in short means ego defensiveness, dignity or one's personal pride with the traditional Oriental attitude of having what we call face. Next is lagay and arreglo. These are established socio-political connections for some material consideration to be able to obtain favors. These negative practices often occur in government offices where special privileges and favors may be obtained in return for which certain considerations are exchanged. Lagay system. It refers to the practice of giving lagay or padulas or grease money to get what one wants at the earliest and fastest possible time, or offering of any item of value to influence the actions of any official or other person in charge of a public or legal duty. While the arreglo is the act of settling matters like an issue or conflict, of putting things in order. For example, nagkaroon ng alitan sa pagitan ng dalawang magkapatid na si Tanjiro at Nezuko. Ngunit hindi nagdalawang isip si Tanjiro na makipag-areglo upang hindi lumaki ang away. The next one is palakasan scheme. Obtaining a job, getting a promotion, transfer, and other special privileges and favors are often done in palakasan. This scheme is manifested in a society where there is a strong family ties and the influence of power and wealth. Palakasan scheme. This is a common knowledge, an open secret to every Filipino, most especially in the world of politics. There was a post in Facebook. It said that even though you have the qualities, abilities, and capabilities that match the criteria for a certain job you're applying for, sometimes it's just not enough to get the job. That's because you don't have what they called a backer. They are going to be your reference in applying for a job, and that will be hassle-free to them. Next is the use of euphemistic expression. Euphemistic expression is stating an unpleasant opinion, truth, or request as pleasantly as possible to please another so as not to directly hurt his ego. It is sometimes called white lies. To avoid direct confrontation, one uses the euphemistic expression like tsaka na lang or late on English, okay lang or marahil, or perhaps, siguro nga in English could be, or bahala na. Euphemism is an appropriate expression used in the place of a phrase or words that may be found inappropriate or offensive. For example, in the Mad Men pilot episode, screenwriter Matthew Weiner uses euphemistic to establish this conservative culture. Pete Campbell, one of the characters in Mad Men, creates his own expression for saying a woman has slept with a lot of men. He said, "So, do I get first crack at her? Word is she took down more sailors than the Arizona." As you can see from this example, euphemism is more than just a way to avoid crude language. That's why people often use euphemistic expressions when they're afraid of offending or upsetting someone. The next one is the suerte, tadhana, malas, buena, form of fatalism. These are beliefs in fate, predestination, in horoscope, and hula. In English is fortune telling. This fatalism still persists today when a Filipino accepts with resignations and tolerance pain and frustration. These undesirable values can be minimized if parents, teachers, and elders emphasize to the individual the value of hard work and savings. By personal achievements, that environment can be controlled, and that lot is what we make it. Fatalism is the attitude of mind which accepts whatever happens as having been bound or decreed to happen. It also expresses the bahala na attitude, which means leaving matters as they are because nature will take its course. For example, we have an exam tomorrow and tinamad ka mag-review, and during exam, he said that bahala na si Batman, tamang hula na lang. Wheaton stated that fatalism is a tendency to believe in the efficacy of environmental rather than personal forces in understanding the causes of life outcomes, including both success and failures outcomes. The next one is the existence of spirits, ghosts, and supernatural beings. The beliefs on these unseen beings still persist in our thoughts, and we imagine them to be existing in this material world. Many people believe that spirits possess supernatural powers, and so we pray to them, offer food to the Anitos and Anitas, so that they will not harm us or bring bad luck to our activities. Sometimes we ask these spirits to cure our illness or to provide us safety, good harvest, and luck. Most of these beliefs and values are already deeply rooted in our culture. Even young children believe in these beings because of the practice of yayas. Parents and elders to frighten children to stop crying or to let them sleep. The mystery surrounding ghosts has been around for a long time. The idea of ghosts holds a more negative connotation as it is portrayed as haunting spirits. People like the idea of ghosts more than people like the idea of ghosts or beings more than they actually believe in them. Even though ghosts are seen as haunting figures, they are romanticized and excused for entertainment. For example, Scooby-Doo, ghost hunters, and other paranormal activity.
The gaya-gaya practice, generally imitation, is not bad per se, because it is one of form of learning, especially if there is a good model to imitate. On the other hand, gaya-gaya has a negative value if it indicates to go into a new field of endeavor and rely on just a mere imitation. It does not bring good result to the individual's ingenuity and resourcefulness. Gaya-gaya is a Filipino word defined as a copycat or someone with no originality. The gaya-gaya practice is not bad or wrong all the time. It is good and bad depending upon the situation if it necessary to copy it or not. Gaya-gaya mentality reflects emphasis on palabas, pakitang tao, or pagyayabang. Karma. Many Filipinos believe in karma, the Indian word which means the law of nature. The saying, for every action there is an equal reaction and opposite reaction, is referred to karma. There is also saying in Tagalog, kung ano ang itinanim ay siya nga anihin. In English, what you have sowed is what you will reap. Means, if you do harm to others, goes back to you. Karma means action, work, and or deed. For the believers in spirituality, the term also refers to the spiritual principle of cause and effect, often descriptively called the principle of karma, wherein intent and actions of an individual influence the future of that individual. Good intent and good deeds contribute to good karma and happier rebirths, while bad intent and bad deeds contribute to bad karma and bad rebirths.
Cultural heritage, an expression of ways of living developed by a community. In addition to this, cultural heritage can provide us an automatic sense of unity and belonging within a group, and it allows us to better understand previous generation and the history of where we come from. Understanding our cultural heritage can give us a sense of personal identity.
The Banawe rice terraces are terraces that were carved into the mountains of Banawe, Ifugao, in the Philippines, by the ancestors of the Igorot people. The terraces are occasionally called the Eighth Wonder of the World. It is commonly thought that the terraces were built with minimal equipment, largely hand. Banawe rice terraces, system of irrigated rice terraces in the mountains of north-central Luzon, Philippines, that were created more than 2,000 years ago by the Ifugao people. Although located in several villages, they are collectively known as the Banawe rice terraces. In 1995, various sections of the terraces were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, described as a living cultural landscape of unparalleled beauty. Calle Crisologo. One of those is Vegan, where we can see the famous Calle Crisologo. Calle Crisologo is a street of old Spanish structures, mostly houses of wealthy families and Filipino-Chinese traders. This is where you will see the famous cobblestone streets that represent Vegan's image. When Juan de Salcedo discovered the town in 1572, it was known as Calle Escolta de Vigan, before being renamed Calle Crisologo. The street was established before the galleon trade and served as the commercial hub for the entire northern Luzon. Calle Crisologo was also known as Kasanglayan or Chinese Place, and it served as a business hub for foreign migrant traders such as Chinese, Spanish, Mexican, Japanese, and other Europeans. During American rule, the Calle de Escolta de Vigan was renamed Washington Street in the late 1890s. The Americans established a civil government in Ilocos Sur on September 1, 1901, with Don Mena Crisologo, a delegate to the Malolos Congress, as the first provincial governor. Ilocanos held high regard for Crisologo as a writer and politician. He died on July 5, 1927 at the age of 82. After retiring from government service, following the death of Crisologo, Washington Street was renamed Mena Crisologo Street in his honor. Mena Crisologo Street, now known as Calle Crisologo, became famous over time as the center of well-preserved houses and is still the main attraction in Vigan. Old World Intramuros is home to Spanish-era landmarks like Fort Santiago, with a large stone gate and a shrine to national hero Jose Rizal. The ornate Manila Cathedral houses bronze carvings and stained glass windows, while the San Agustin Church Museum has religious artworks and statues. Spanish colonial furniture and art fill Casa Manila Museum, and horse-drawn carriages, or calesa, ply the area's cobblestone streets. Intramuros plays an important part to our country's history, and it is one of the popular destinations for a visitor to our hometown. It is the oldest district and is called the Walled City. Historically, Intramuros served as the seat of government of the Captaincy General of the Philippines, a component realm of the Spanish era, housing the colony's governor-general from its founding in 1571 until 1865, and the real audiencia of Manila until the end of the Spanish rule during the Philippine Revolution of 1898. When you visit Intramuros, you can find the popular old churches like Manila Cathedral and San Agustin. The other area in Intramuros to visit is Fort Santiago, where you will find the old fort and Rizal Shrine, a small museum which features the life and work of Jose Rizal, our national hero. Along the way, you will find a lot more smaller attractions like museum, plazas, and old buildings. In fact, walking along the streets of Intramuros, you will feel like you are back in time as you find yourself in the midst of old historical structures which are still in place. The Miagao Church, also known as the Santo Tomas de Villanueva Parish Church, is a Roman Catholic church located in Miagao, Iloilo, Philippines. Built in 1786, Miagao Church is one of the most visited tourist attractions in Miagao, Iloilo. More than a place of worship, it is also served as a fortress, hence it is called the Baroque Fortress Church. The Miagao Church stands as a living legacy of the culture and way of life of the people of Miagao centuries ago, anchored in a strong foundation of Christian faith. It was built with the Baroque features with touches of imposing patterns, ornaments, and motifs of Chinese and Filipino style, making it a one-of-a-kind church. That is why architecture of the Miagao Church is among the most beautiful architectural gems of the Philippines. It was designed with a thick walls to serve as protection from invaders. It was severely damaged during the Spanish Revolution in 1898, but was later rebuilt fire in 1910. The Second World War and earthquake in 1948. The present-day Miagao Church is the third church built since its establishment in 1731. To preserve the church, it is underwent restoration in 1960. This was completed in 1962. It has been declared a national shrine through Presidential Decree number 260.
Cagsawa ruins in Bicol. The Baroque Church of Cagsawa was built by Franciscan friars during the Hispanic occupation of the Philippines in around 1724 to replace an earlier church that had been burned down by Dutch pirates. It is symbolic of the dangers of living in close proximity to the Mayon volcano. The Cagsawa Ruins Park is now one of the most popular tourist destinations in Albay Province. It is also the site of the Cagsawa branch of the National Museum of the Philippines. National Museum. The National Museum is an educational, scientific, and cultural institution that acquires, documents, preserves, exhibits, and fosters scholarly study and public appreciation of works of art, specimens, and cultural and historical artifacts, representative of the unique cultural heritage of the Filipino people and natural history of the Philippines. In addition, the National Museum manages and develops the National Reference Collection in the areas of cultural heritage such as fine arts, anthropology, archaeology, and natural history. Tinikling. Tinikling is a traditional Philippine folk dance which is originated during the Spanish colonial era. The dance involves two people beating, tapping, and sliding bamboo poles on the ground and against each other in coordination with one or more dancers who step over and in between the poles in a dance. The term tinikling literally means to perform it tinikling-like. The dance originated in Leyte Island in Visayas. It imitates the movement of the tinikling birds as they walk between grass stems, run over tree branches, or dodge bamboo straps set by rice farmers. Maglalatik. The maglalatik, also known as manlalatik or magbabao, is a folk dance from the Philippines performed by male dancers. It originated in the town of Binyan, Laguna province of the Filipino Islands. Coconut shell halves are secured onto the dancer's hands and on vests upon which are hung 4 or 6 more coconut shell halves. Pandago sa ilaw. Pandago is a Philippine folk dance which has become popular in the rural areas of the Philippines. The dance evolves from fandago, a Spanish folk dance which arrived in the Philippines during the Hispanic period. The dance is accompanied by castanets. Pandago sa ilaw is a timeless Philippine folk dance, likely originating from Mindoro. As you can see in the presentation, the Pandago sa ilaw simulates fireflies in the night by balancing lighted cups.
Sayaw sa bangko is performed on top of a narrow bench. The dancer will require good balance as they go through a series of movements with some impressive acrobats. The dance originates from Pangasinan and researched by Jovita Sisa. Sayaw sa bangko is a famous Filipino folk dance in which the dancers must use good skills and balance as they dance on top of a narrow bench. This dance dates to before the Spanish colonialization of the Philippines, which means it is purely Filipino ancestral dance. Dancers showcase their skills as they dance atop of a narrow bench while constantly trading places. As opposed to competing to stay on the bench, dancers must complement each other to ensure that they do not fall. This dance is usually performed in town fiestas. It was originally performed by newlyweds during their wedding feast for their guests. The dance showcased both bride and groom and how they complement and help each other with the intricate steps, making sure they don't fall from the bench. For the costume, men wear camisa de chino with the handkerchief tied around his neck and rolled up trousers, while women wear patadyong and they are both barefoot. The Rizal Memorial Sports Complex, the national sports complex of the Philippines, is considered as the oldest sports complex in Asia. It is located on Pablo Ocampo, formerly Vito Cruz Street, Malate, Manila. Formerly the Manila Carnival Grounds, the RMSC was built in 1934 for the Far Eastern Championship Games, a precursor to the Asian Games. It is named after the country's national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. It was reconstructed in 1953 after it was destroyed during the World War II and was used in the Asian Games. Until 2005, no major renovation were done in the complex. The complex was criticized by local and international sports officials for its age and limited space. The National Stadium, the main centerpiece of the sports complex, has a maximum seating capacity of only 30,000. The complex also houses the administrative office of the Philippine Sports Commission and quarters for the Philippine national athletes. The Church of San Joaquin is the Roman Catholic parish church of the town of San Joaquin in Iloilo Province. Built in 1869, the church distinguishes itself from other churches in the Philippines because of its militaristic theme. Carved on a disproportionately large pediment of the facade is an intricate sculpture relief depicting the Spanish victory over Moroccan forces in the Battle of Tetuan. The low relief mural captures the drama of victory while cavalry and infantry are tearing down Moorish defense. So intricate is the sculpture that even the expression of agony by wounded soldiers is visible. The title of the composition, Rendition de Tetuan, is carved at the base of this animated relief. The unique features of the San Joaquin Church have received the admiration of its onlookers, including the National Historical Institute, which has listed the church as a national cultural treasure. The declaration was made in support of the state policy to preserve and protect important cultural properties and safeguard their intrinsic values. The Minor Basilica and Metropolitan Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception, also known as the Manila Cathedral, is the Cathedral of Manila and Basilica located in Intramuros, the historic walled city within today's modern city of Manila, Philippines. It is dedicated to the Immaculate Conception, a title for the Blessed Virgin Mary, the principal patroness of the country. The cathedral serves as the episcopal seat of the Archbishop of Manila. The cathedral was originally a parish church in Manila under the Archdiocese of Mexico in 1571, until it became a separate diocese on February 6, 1579, upon the issuance of the papal bull Ilius Fulti Presido by Pope Gregory VIII. The cathedral was damaged and destroyed several times since the original structure was built in 1581, while the eighth and current structure of the cathedral was completed in 1958. The basilica has merited a papal endorsement from Pope Gregory VIII and the 3 apostolic visits from Pope Paul VI, Pope John Paul II, and Pope Francis. On April 27, 1981, Pope John Paul II issued Papal Bull Quod Ipsum, designating the cathedral as a minor basilica by his own motu proprio. San Agustin Church o Simbahan ng San Agustin, also known as the Archdiocesan Shrine of Nuestra Señora de Consolacion y Correa, or the Immaculate Conception Parish, is a Roman Catholic church under the auspices of the Order of St. Augustine, located inside the historic walled city of Intramuros in Manila. Completed in 1607, it is the oldest stone church in the country. It is built between 1587 and 1606. It is considered the oldest and longest standing church in the country. The church was the only left intact after the destruction of Intramuros during World War II. It has tropical convent and a shabby beautiful garden at the back. This massive architecture is filled with historical objects that reflects the historical culture of the past. In 1993, San Agustin Church was one of the Philippines churches constructed during the Spanish colonial period to be designated as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO under the collective title Baroque Churches of the Philippines. It was named a National Historical Landmark by the Philippine government in 1976.